This is a brief overview of Brexit and how it will influence the world and Japan. In this overview, we will pose 3 questions. What is Brexit? How may it affect Great Britain? And how may it affect Japan and the world? What is Brexit? The European Union, the EU, is a political and economic union. It has 28 member states. 19 of the member states also use the euro as their currency. The advantage of being a member of the EU is that you can export and import products freely, and people may move freely within the free trade zone without having to pay tariffs and without restrictions. On the other hand, all of the EU countries are subject to EU regulations and must pay to support the EU. In some countries, including Great Britain, a group of people called Eurosceptics has risen. British Eurosceptics are worried that EU regulations take power from Great Britain and give it to the EU. They are also worried that British money is going to support other EU countries.
In the biggest popular mandate ever delivered in our history, the British people voted to leave the European Union. And we voted to take back control of our cash and our borders, and above all, of our law-making system, to put the British people back in the driving seat of their country.
In June of 2016, Britain had a referendum and voted to leave the European Union. How may it affect Great Britain? Currently, the full effects of Brexit are not known. Great Britain and the EU are currently in negotiations for how Brexit will work. They are discussing many issues, such as the degree of free trade and what will happen to British citizens living in the EU, as well as other subjects. There are many possible solutions, but probably the best solution for Britain would be to remain a part of the European Economic Area, the EEA. The EEA includes EU countries, but also includes other countries such as Norway and Iceland. These countries enjoy some of the same benefits of EU membership, including the free trade zone for certain products. Britain would still have to follow some EU regulations and still pay money to the EEA, but it would be less money than they pay to the EU. A worst-case scenario for Britain would be the loss of access to the EU free trade zone and tariffs being imposed on British goods and services. How may this affect Japan and the world? The big question for Japan and other countries is one of economics. One of the big issues is negotiating new trade deals. Under the EU, tariffs and trade policy were controlled by the EU. But now, Great Britain will have to renegotiate the trade deals with other countries. In terms of Japan and trade policy, it does not look like there will be a big change. In August, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and British Prime Minister Theresa May met and began to discuss trade relations after Brexit, and it seems like the countries will maintain current trade relations.
The fact that after the decision on Brexit, Japanese companies are continuing to make new investment into the United Kingdom, which shows the profound trust that Japanese companies have toward the British economy. It is important for the world economy to realize Brexit from the EU, which is smooth and successful. With this in mind, I have asked Prime Minister May for her continued consideration for ensuring transparency and predictability so as to minimize its impact on the business activities, including the Japanese companies. We also agreed to have further enhancement of the dialogue between the two nations for the strengthening of the bilateral economic relations after the Brexit.
But even if there is an agreement, there still may be problems for Britain and Japan. According to Rudlin Consulting and Teikoku Database, there are about 1,380 Japanese companies operating in the UK. Many companies operate in the UK in order to take advantage of its EU status. By having a company in the UK, a company can easily access the EU markets to sell products and services to other countries. According to the Global Financial Centers Index, currently London is the world's #1 financial center. But many financial companies with headquarters in London are worried about losing access to the EU, and many banks and financial companies are moving to other EU cities. For example, Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group has announced that they will be moving their European offices to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Other Japanese companies are also looking to move their operations to other countries. In the end, what will happen is uncertain. But let us know what you think. Will Japan and British relations remain the same? Will Britain stay in the free trade area?